Quite an agenda today. So we're going to start. I've seen Daniel's on this call. So over to you, Daniel from Mint. He's going to give us the update.
Thanks, Toby. Thanks for inviting me here again. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I do know that there's a bit of a packed agenda today, so I will try to keep it as brief as possible. The latest really is that we've started to see patients now in our new site, which is in the north of the borough. So we started to have outpatient appointments for patients to see doctors there Monday of this week. And yeah, it was quite successful. So slowly we're starting to phase over more of our work over into Grand Union Village, which is our new base for the North team. Obviously, patients who are under the other two teams in the borough. So that's Acton Mint at Avenue House and Southall Mint at the Limes will still continue to go there for their appointments. But it does mean that they'll start to reduce the amount of pressure that's on the site at the Limes. And actually, I think, what some of the feedback that we had last month around the difficulty of people getting through that on the telephone will also be reduced as well, because we've got two teams working in one site at the moment, and obviously that jams up the phone lines as well. So slowly that will start to sort of change. The other thing we've been doing is doing a lot of trying to desperately to recruit. You'll probably have heard it in the news a lot about in healthcare, how difficult it is at the moment in terms of people, in terms of getting staff in. So a couple of weekends ago, I spent the weekend in Brighton at a recruitment event, trying to recruit some nurses into the service. And we've been doing a few extra things around meeting up with students as well who are due to qualify sort of like in the next 6 to 12 months, to try to get them to start with the teams as soon as they qualify, basically. And yeah, I guess the other thing we probably need to do is, but maybe outside of this forum, is to speak to all of the partners who are delivering sort of therapy in the area as well, because I guess I'm a little bit concerned that we may be sort of referring people, and I'm not really sure about what the capacity is at the moment for other services. I know that there is quite a lot of capacity at IAPT at the moment, but it would be just good to know about sort of like our other partners who are delivering therapy and how things are going with that. So it may be more appropriate for me to sort of take that offline maybe and send an email to everybody who I'm aware of that's delivering therapy in the area. And then we can sort of take it from there, really. But happy to answer any questions, so feel free.
Anyone got any questions for Daniel? No, I don't think we have today.
Can I ask something? Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
When we sent last time an email, there's some issue of safeguarding, we send a message to single point of access by email.
Yeah.
And we got an email back by telling contact you all Mint email address. So are you looking after single point of access safeguarding cases as well?
Well, really, they should forward it on to us. So when if there's a safeguarding raised for a patient in the community, they have a responsibility to let us know about that, and they normally do. So I'm not sure what happened there, but obviously we do have our sort of Mint email addresses set up as well, so you can sort of email us to our sort of generic emails. Have you got those, Peru?
Yeah, I have, but my question now is, if it is an emergency, what happens with single point of access? As you know, they pick up the phone, we give them the name of a customer.
Yeah.
And they tell us whether the customer is known to them, or they've taken any action, or they've been admitted to the hospital, anything to do with them. Some people just put a message, they're suicidal, and we want to come to single point of access. So, and last time it happened, it's a very well-known customer, and I sent an email to reconfirm what shall I do, because every time we speak to her, she goes on telling us she's suicidal, she's going to die, blah, blah things. And there was a message, automated message, that will deal with this, but in future you send a message to your email address. Now, you rightly said that you will get the email, but how we can deal with this kind of problems? That's my question.
Yeah. So I think it sort of depends. I think sometimes and this is one of the difficulties with our partners. Sometimes we have a different understanding of some of our patients than what you might. So some people may sort of present with sort of suicidal ideation, and they may have that, but that might be something that's chronic for them. They may have had that for a very long period of time. And actually, for some patients, that might be their baseline, and it depends sometimes whether they want to actually address the cause of that. Because, like I said, in terms of therapy, therapy is really difficult for people, and some patients that don't want to go through it's actually quite emotionally painful and draining for patients. So sometimes it's more comfortable for them to be in that role where they're actually not very well, funnily enough, and that might not make sense to some people on the call, but that's in that sort of sick role. But definitely, if you've got concerns about a patient, SPA have a responsibility basically to pick up that patient, and we have a responsibility if the patient's under our team, to make sure that they get followed up. So I know sort of in the North Mint team and the South Mint team, every patient has an allocated worker. So any patient that's under our service has somebody that's allocated to them who will basically follow anything up that comes through. So that's been one of the changes that we've made with Mint. So if the patient is open to one of those two teams, then the patient should know who their worker actually is, and they should be able to call independently as well. In the Acton team, it's slightly different at the moment. They have sort of a lot more patients, so it's more difficult for them but that's the direction they will eventually end up in. Yeah, so
the number remains the same, correct? So if you've got any concern, we still dial the same single point of access telephone number.
Yeah, call single point of access. They should help you. And if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, you can always sort of speak to sort of like the lead. If the person that you're on the phone to doesn't seem like they're sort of very helpful, there's managers there, there's consultants in that team. You're more than welcome to ask to speak to somebody else if you feel you're not getting anywhere.
Okay, fine. I mean,
thank you, Paru.
My question was completely different. My question was that why they put the email address of yours to contact you. Well, they are being dealt by them only by phone. So, okay, let me do something. When I get sometimes again next time, then I will contact you and find it out.
Maybe I'll try to explain. So, single point of access, they don't hold any cases. Yes. They're just a telephone. So they're just a linking in with the service and everything. Yeah. So if the patient's open to us, then we have the responsibility to follow them up. So if you know the patient's open to us, then contact us directly and don't go through SPA.
Perfect. And if we have to contact you, we'll do only by email, or you've got any specific telephone?
You can call us as well on the phone, yeah, but I think some people have had problems getting through. And that's something we're trying to address, obviously, with moving the teams. So email's probably is probably a better bet. Then you've got a record as well of what you've sent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Oh, Susan's got a hand up.
Yeah, can I just check, Daniel, have the email addresses then changed for the teams? So are we still using the duty recovery emails, or are there new ones?
Yeah, so there are new emails, but if you still continue to send stuff through to those duty emails, they'll still be picked up because they're auto forwarded at the moment.
Okay.
Now there should be an out of office thing on the duty recovery to direct you to what the new emails are going to be, but I can put them into the chat as well for everybody.
Yes, please.
Just so that you know what the Mint emails are.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that now.
Lovely. Thanks, Daniel. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Bushra, and Bushra is the new Mental Health Commissioner for Ealing. So welcome, Bushra. I know you've been to this forum before. So yeah, I've invited Bushra really to give us an update, really, because I know she's only been in post, I think it is about 6 months, really. And yeah, I have to be honest, really, one of the reasons I've invited Bushra, not only to find out a little bit about her role, but also is the funding for this forum is being reviewed, because I know it was Ben Byrne who helped instigate that funding for us for the year from January to now, and it's up for review. So that's why I thought it'd be good if we could, after we hear from Bushra, is really to tell Bushra about the benefits of this forum and what you've gained from it. I know there's been some great conversations, particularly between Susan at Linked Minds with Ben, and really good connections and information sharing. But we can discuss that more in a minute. But first of all, yes, I'm just keen for Bushra to give us an update and just introduce herself to the forum.
Well, thank you for that, Toby, and thank you for inviting me to the forum. I will just introduce myself, but also I'm very keen to know who everybody is. I'm not sure how we are for time, so if it's difficult for individual introductions, can we just have everybody write their names in the chat along with their titles, so I just get an idea as well? That would be fantastic. So yes, as Toby very kindly introduced me, my name is Bushra and I'm the Mental Health Commissioner for Ealing. I do work in an integrated team, so I work on behalf of Northwest London NHS Trust as well. I have been in the role for about 6 months, which is simultaneously very short, but also feels like forever. So I think kind of just getting into the role at the moment and really understanding Ealing and the communities and the work and the people. And as part of my role, it's really wide, and I'm slightly embarrassed to say I don't know exactly because there's so much to it. But in a nutshell, I cover all VCS organizations, so kind of our organization we work with through our grants program. We oversee supported living providers, some of our larger providers such as West London Trust. I also work on suicide prevention. I know it's Hajra is going to speak about that next, isn't it? So just going to be working from an Ealing perspective on that. In the last year, we have developed a COVID-19 action plan. I don't know if it's being spoken about in this forum, Toby?
No, not really. No, it hasn't been discussed.
Okay, so last year, I think this was 2020. So before I joined, we held a high-level mental health summit with organizations around Ealing. And based on some of the key priorities and the changes that were occurring due to the pandemic, we developed 4 main areas that we wanted to work in. We call this this COVID-19 mental health action plan. So one of my key roles is to oversee the implementation of it. The 4 main areas that we do, one is promoting better mental health. So this includes engaging with our communities, understanding the needs, having conversations, also improving the way we talk about mental health, improving, let's say, signage and strategies, and working with different organizations to improve our understanding and communication around mental health. Toby, I will send this to you if you want to forward it to all the members.
Mm-hmm.
It also covers improving mental health outcomes. So for people with helping people with skills, so people who have been struggling with their mental health, improving their skills, getting better access to employment, working with different organizations and agencies to improve how, ways of access to employment opportunities, but also how employers can support employees with their mental health. We want to improve our working together, which is working with VCS organizations, individuals, creating mental health champions, signposting, and I know, Toby, you did a bit of mapping exercise. I think I saw that in one of your notes.
Yes.
And that'll be really helpful for kind of, for us to have a chat about, but to kind of know who the organizations are in Ealing and being able to signpost to all of them. And lastly, working with all the communities around Ealing. So improving our engagement with and understanding of communities on the ground, whether it's BME communities, LGBT communities, people with neurodiverse needs, and ensuring that every single service, every single communication, everything is accessible to communities, but also increasing our focus on co-production. So making sure that anything that we want to do as we go forward, we do it in partnership with, with people on the ground. So really understanding what the needs are, how are we, working well, how are we not working, What can we do better? How can we kind of, develop our services to ensure that every resident feels heard and understood? So I think really my role, as I see it, is, and especially my role, I mean, I come from the voluntary sector and I've worked in the voluntary sector for a long time. So really have an appreciation for, the way we work, etc. And so I see my role here as really kind of being here for Ealing, and understanding and having communication with everybody, understanding your needs, understanding your experiences, both within your own communities, but also within Ealing, and the wider world as well, and to see how we can shape services and deliver services in a very co-produced way to ensure the best outcome for everyone. Thank you for the introductions in the chat. Is there any questions or anything else that anybody wanted to ask? And I will send the COVID-19 action plan to everybody. I know that we are trying to kind of work on our, and as part of that, I also chair a board, Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Partnership Board. I think a couple of you are on that board as well. And that brings together some key partners from, Ealing Adult Social Care, VCS organizations. We have members from MTREL, which is the Elizabeth line, so train stations, etc. We have members of the mental health lead from the police, and so that board is responsible for overseeing the implementation of the action plan, and keeping an eye on data and seeing what we can do better. So as part of that, our strategy in the next year is to look at our Ealing suicide prevention plan and to see whether it's addressing the needs of the community and how we can improve that.
Noika, I see you've got your hand up.
Hi, hi Bushra. Thank you, Toby. Just wanted to introduce myself. I am Noika, and I handle the funding and group development for the organization, VCS organizations in Ealing and Hounslow, CVS, specifically for the Ealing Borough. I'm happy to support you if you have any messaging that you'd like, in terms of COVID that you want me to share via a newsletter or the website. Toby and I have created a COVID messaging page, which I regularly update, and we could also send any important messaging to the organization. So happy to connect and support. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely will. We do have a mental health provider forum next week, and I think that's where we bring together all the providers. And it is meant to be quarterly, but we haven't had one since June. But I'm hoping to make it a more regular occurrence. So I will be talking there about, some of the changes around COVID-19 and things like that. So I'll definitely be in touch with you, Nayoka, to see if there's anything that comes from there.
I'm going to talk a little bit about maybe, Bushra, how we could get more connection with Ealing Council to see if you've got more influence there. And I was wondering, Susan, could you just explain to Bushra how valuable it's been with talking to Ben Byrne as an example? Because I'm thinking, and if you know other people that you think, oh, I wish I could connect to them at Ealing Council, if anyone in fact would thinking, oh, it would be so valuable if these particular departments from Ealing Council would attend this meeting. If anyone would like to run that past Bushra too. But Susan, do you want to just explain how useful it was talking to Ben?
I would love to do that, Toby, but I'm really sorry to report that I've actually not managed to catch up with Ben.
Really?
I've been blighted by, I had terrible flu, and then just as I was recovering from that, I had COVID. So actually, I've hardly been at work for the last 6 weeks. I've really not been well. So unfortunately, we've not managed to catch up with Ben yet, but I'm still hoping that that can happen. And also, we were really hoping to catch up with Wanda Fernandez as well, who we met at the forum, and she was speaking about a new service that they were setting up for people that were, I think, had complex needs, a new service, and we've not been able to catch up with Wanda either. I think just a combination of just me really not being well and just people being super busy at the moment. But sort of in support of the forum, what I could say is that I do find meetings useful just for giving a sense of who else is out there and what other people are doing. I think it's worked really well. So my personal impression is that it works quite well for the voluntary sector, because we tend to be lots of people in little isolated projects. We don't really come across each other in any other setting. So I think for us, it's really useful. So for example, I've been able to hook up with Anne Owen from Ealing and Hounslow Mind recently, who has been really useful supporting a client of mine, and you know, it's because of the connections that we make during the forum that we're able to do that and call upon people to help us with things. I think, yeah, I'll leave it there. I think we would really, I think the loss of the forum would be a terrible thing, because I think it is the only way that all of us little people in our little voluntary organisations manage to see each other and hear about what each other are doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. And I don't believe that any such thing as little people or little organizations.
Yeah.
Really important work in their own, way. But no, I definitely, I, had a look at the links that Toby very kindly sent me, and the amount of really important topics that you've been discussing in the last few months, in the last year. And there's definitely a huge value, and we wouldn't want to lose this. So I am, at the moment, and you mentioned Wanda, I am in conversation with Wanda and Jackie, who's our officer for grants, to see, where we can kind of fund the money for this. So I'll definitely find it somewhere. I know that the last time, I think, Toby, you mentioned it came from the Transformation Project. I don't think that is there anymore, to my knowledge, but I have been chasing up colleagues. But no, definitely, there's a huge value in here. And I think with COVID-19, it's been quite difficult to connect. So these, these provide really, really important spaces. Just to answer a couple of things from the chat. Thank you for the introductions. Yes, Catherine and Hajra, definitely I will send you links or invite to the forums. If anybody else wants them, then please message me. Fatima, do you have a suicide prevention forum? We have a partnership board, as I mentioned. We don't have and one of the things I want to do in the suicide prevention forum, and I know somebody up there mentioned, was it, one second, Nell, lots of training. One thing I want to do is that one thing that we found through the forum was, through the partnership board, was that a lot of organizations were providing training. But obviously it would be really good to know about the different trainings that you're providing, so we can link up, we can send people, we can support funding for that as well. So that'll be really, really valuable as well, to kind of know what's happening, especially in terms of suicide. There's lots of, specialities everywhere. So that'll be really, really helpful for me to continue coming here, and for me to also link all of you up with the different providers as well. Nell, I will send you an email, because as I said, we do have a meeting in January about suicide prevention. So that would be really, really helpful.
Brilliant, thanks, Bushra.
Yeah, and but yeah, no, definitely. I think there's a huge value in bringing together organizations as we go forward. I think the landscape is changing quite a lot as well. It's no longer just about, as you mentioned, little Iceland. There's no longer, I think, people working in silos. We know that doesn't work, but it's all about partnership working and learning from each other, and ensuring that we put the heart of Ealing at at whatever we do, the communities of Ealing at the heart of whatever we do. Sorry about that.
Lovely. Well, thanks, Bushra. I'm really pleased to hear that you think there'll be future funding for this, and yeah, certainly. Also, something else to bear in mind, that Ealing Council doesn't have a partnership unit like Hounslow Council does. So it's very difficult for people to know how to access particular people. There isn't that sort of front door to be able to access different departments and that connection with the voluntary sector. So I think having this sort of forum and having those interactions and connections with people from the council is really, really valuable.
I mean, can you just tell me a little bit more about that? What would you like to see in that? I mean, what kind of forum would you like to see, or what kind of connection?
Okay, ideally, what would be great, and I did try and get Ben to start this. What I'd ideally like is each month someone from Ealing Council and different department just to introduce themselves, say what they do. Here is the team. This is the process. It's just so helpful to know who is who and how we can connect to them and they can connect to us. It's just really about promoting themselves really and connecting, just making things easier for us, and so an easier service for the service users. So yeah, just a simple format every month, someone different from a different team in the Ealing Council, and just having those conversations and seeing those faces and just knowing who's who and what they do.
Yep, that sounds great. And I'll definitely get that message across, and hopefully, and I'll liaise with you as well about who you want to come and the different teams, etc. That'll be great, definitely.
I just think that's the only bit that's kind of missing in this forum, and it will make it much stronger and more effective. So
definitely,
that'll be good.
I agree with you.
Okay, well, thanks very much, Bushra. Really interesting, and yes, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move to Natalie from the Solace Centre. She's going to give us an update. Because I don't think we've had an update from Solace Centre for a little while now. So over to you, Natalie.
Hello, everybody. Is it possible to share my screen? I'll just do that.
Yes, I will make you a co-host, and then you can. Okay, there you go. You can share your screen now.
Bear with me. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes, lovely, thank you.
Let me just go to the slideshow, hang on. From the beginning, okay. Is that working?
It is, yeah, brilliant.
Okay, cool. Okay, my name's Natalie. I'm a recovery worker at the Solace Centre in Ealing. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk today, Toby. So just a little bit about who we are in case you haven't heard of us. We're a mental health resource centre based in West Ealing. Our main goal is to combat loneliness and reduce isolation. We currently have over 100 members from a range of backgrounds, ages, different mental health diagnoses. And we're a community essentially. So we're, like I said, we're based in West Ealing, run by Equinox Care. So why could Solace be useful to you? So like I say, we firmly believe that no one should be alone and isolated, whether they're still with the mental health services or if they've been discharged. So we're a safe space for people with a range of backgrounds to hang out. We offer various groups. At the minute, we're running a group to teach people how to use their mobile phones. We've also got an art therapist who comes in. We do a healthy living group. We've got a women's group and a men's group. But also, if you want to come and just have a cup of tea, that's absolutely fine too. We've got 5 staff on hand for support as well. So there's a range of different activities. So usually we're open 365 days a year, but currently due to COVID, we've had to change the way we run a little bit. We're currently open from Monday to Friday from 3 to 6:45. And we have an internal capacity of 15. So to gain entry, you need to have a rapid flow test to get in. So we are taking referrals at the minute. Simple process if you're not on a section. If you just contact me, we'll set you up with an appointment. There's a little bit of a waiting list at the minute, but not too long. If you are on a section, then we do require risk assessments. But yeah, so referrals are very welcome by invitation. I'll just show you some pictures of some recent events we've had. This is World Mental Health Day. So if you see, it's actually behind me as well, if I'm still on screen. It's a beautiful display. We had a project regarding emotional intelligence, and 45 of our members had their photo taken and got involved in the art display. So this was a group project together, and these are some of our members. Like I say, we do have a limited capacity at the minute because of COVID, but these are some of our members and staff. Yep, this is more of World Mental Health Day. We had a pool competition, we had a meal that everyone enjoyed, we had a bit of a disco as well. So yeah, that's a tiny little bit about us. If you'd like to know more, I've got links here for an Around Ealing article, and also there's a little video about us. I don't know if anyone's got any questions about anything, but we'll welcome referrals and we'd like to get to know you some more.
Any questions for Natalie?
No.
No.
Equally okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, just one quick question is, so people have to be referred to you, they can't just drop in, or they can, they can drop in once they're registered, is that right?
Yeah, so due to COVID, because obviously we've got a limited capacity at the minute, we are making appointments.
Sure.
But like I say, it's a simple process. If someone's not on a section, then I've got my email address there and I can forward it to my colleague. And like I said, there's a bit of a waiting list, but not too long. But if they are on a section, then we do require more risk assessments and so forth. But yeah, just purely because of COVID at the minute. But then once they've attended a few times, then they can come. But just the initial assessment, because of COVID, we are asking for appointments. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Any other questions? Maika, have you got your hand up again? That's an old hand up, is it? Okay. Right, well, thank you very much, Natalie. It's
thank you very much.
Things are still ticking along nicely there, so, and great to see you. So thanks for joining us.
Hi.
Okay, now we're going to move on to Hajra from Rethink Mental Illness.
Hello, sorry I can't share my put on my camera really because my Wi-Fi is atrocious and I can't do both, unfortunately. So you'll have to just listen to me, and I'm sorry about that. Hello everybody. Thank you again to Toby for letting me join the forum and speak about our suicide prevention program. Just want to check that everybody can hear me okay?
Yes, can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just give a brief overview of my organization, which is Rethink Mental Illness, and then I'll go on to the Northwest London Suicide Prevention Program. So Rethink is a mental health charity. We provide quite a lot of services across the country. We do mental health advocacy work. We support carers for various assessments. We have a number of different helplines for specific groups, as well as a national advice service. We do lots of campaign work, and we offer supported housing services with on-site staff who regularly visit for people with complex needs. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. I just wanted to talk to you today about our Northwest London Suicide Prevention Program. So I'm the Community Co-Production Officer, and currently we're trying to reach out to different community groups, non-profits, faith leaders, as well as service users to try and tackle the high rates of suicide in our 8 boroughs. So which Ealing is one of. The other boroughs are Brent, Hounslow, Harrow, Westminster, Kensington and Chelsea, Hammersmith and Fulham, and Hillingdon. So essentially what this service is a co-produced sort of social response to the high rates of suicide. As Dan said earlier in this meeting, lots of people, don't want to go necessarily into therapy and find that very difficult. And we know that people are naturally going to their community leaders for support, as well as to places like the Solace Centre, which provides out of hours services. So really what we're offering right now is free suicide awareness training. So that would be provided to staff, volunteers, or service users within those 8 boroughs. It's a 4-hour-long session, which can be online or in-house.
Catherine here. Just say mothers at swimming.
Oh. Sorry, am I good to continue or?
Yeah, sorry, I've just muted Catherine. I think she didn't realise she wasn't muted.
Oh,
Sorry,
right.
okay. Carry on.
All right. So essentially what the free suicide awareness training is, it provides a lot of valuable information on how to look after yourself, how to spot signs and symptoms of somebody who might be at risk, the general sort of stigma around suicide, how not to trigger somebody or make them feel judged, and how to have kind of safe conversations with people who might be at risk. The training that we offer it can be in person with a capacity about 20 people, or it could be more flexible online. The training is really useful for anyone who you would believe has regular sort of exposure to people who are struggling with suicidal ideation, self-harm, or bereavement by suicide. I just want to briefly mention the other things that we have to offer, if that's okay, if we're okay for time.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So we're really excited to kind of go ahead with community listening events. So what we're offering is the opportunity to kind of help facilitate community listening events at your venue or online. So if you can think of a group who kind of naturally come together anyways, like for example, support a group, we could provide a listening event where they could kind of be given an opportunity to discuss suicidal ideation in a safe space, and kind of address the support that has been working for them and the support that has not been working for them. We think that that would be just a really insightful opportunity, because we know that these issues don't present identically across groups. So if there's a particular group and you want to highlight those specific issues, like for example, men in their 40s or DV groups, that would be an amazing opportunity to kind of just be able to talk about that. And the last thing I want to briefly mention is our community grant scheme. So we're working with the ICS, and we're able to provide up to 15K to any sort of community group or organization if they need help with funding to produce a pilot project to address any of the above issues that I mentioned. So this could be, a cookery class, it could be a gardening group, it could be a walking group, anything that kind of addresses the suicidal ideation in the local area. Obviously, you would have to apply for the grant scheme, and then our co-production team at Rethink, which includes people with lived experience, would have to assess that to see if it's a right fit. But we're really eager to kind of get this funding out into the community, because we know people have incredible ideas at the moment. Yeah, I will share my email in the chat so that anybody can feel free to email me. So yeah, just to end by saying our suicide prevention program is completely co-produced. It's a social response. We want to work and utilize the natural community leaders and people with lived experience who are already kind of doing a lot of the grunt work to support high-risk groups. And yeah, I just wanted to end by saying thank you for listening to me go on for so long, and thank you for all the incredible work that you're doing. This is my first forum, and it's a pleasure to speak on here, and I hope I'm able to come to more.
Okay, thanks very much, Hajra. That sounds great. And what does ICS stand for that you said the funding was coming from?
It's the integrated care system. So yeah, so they're the ones who are funding us at the moment. So
I see.
Commissioners there.
Okay, lovely.
Get this ahead.
Anyone got any questions for Hadra? No.
Sorry, how can we apply to get that funding to start a mental health project?
If you just email me, I don't have the email because we've only just kind of created the community grants email.
Or I can send it all around, Hadra. If you want to send it to me, I can forward it to everyone afterwards.
Yeah, sure. That would be great. I'll send the training leaflet and then a breakdown of the different emails that people can apply to.
Okay, that's great. Right. Now we're going to move on to Frances about the new drop-in cafe at Haven Green. I know she's been working very hard on this for quite a while, but now it's actually open. So Frances, over to you.
Hi. So yes, I mean, compared with everything else that's been spoken about this morning, this is all very, very low key, especially at the moment. I'll just recap, because I spoke a few months ago what this is kind of all about. It has quite a lot of overlap with the Solace Centre, but we do far, far less. I'm sorry, I've got my curtain in the way there. It's probably just as well, you don't really want to see me. Anyway, so Renew Wellbeing is a national charity, which is it's church-based. It's about setting up spaces for anyone in the community to attend. And really the aim is to provide a safe space where people can just drop in. Again, we're dealing here with loneliness, with people struggling with their mental health, and just kind of being human, really. It's not, we don't offer any training. We don't, I mean, train our leaders, yes, but we don't offer training to or groups as such. It's much more run like a cafe where people can drop in, but there'll be a listening ear if they want. We do not claim to be professionals. We're not offering a counselling service. So for me, it's really helpful hearing about all these projects, because what I am hoping is that we are able to build up some sort of directory of services that we can refer people onto if needed, because what we offer is just really a space, a chance for people to have some human interaction. That's really all it is. So they come in, they have tea, coffee, a chat, there are a few games, jigsaws, crafts. People can bring crafts that they enjoy doing and share with others. So it's very, very simple, and it has been very successful in other parts of the country, but there haven't been many centres as yet opening up in London, although that is changing. So it'll be interesting to see how well it works in London. We've been running for a month. We've got off to a very small, slow but steady start, I should say. We're only open on Monday mornings at the moment. And we will, grow and provide more times, really as demand grows. And judging by what's gone on in other areas, we expect it will grow, because obviously, there's huge need out there. So it's kind of, it's not rocket science, really. But we do try to just provide, a simple, safe, sustainable space, I think, in a nutshell. This is, so that's what we're about.
Remind me what days?
So it's Mondays. This is us. Can you see that?
It's coming through in a minute. Yes, here it is. Yeah, brilliant. I've got that flyer and I can send that around.
That's our little flyer.
Yeah.
And there's an email here if you want to contact me. So Yeah.
That's great. Also, Francis, I think what's so good about your project is, you undersell it a little bit by saying, all these other things, but it's so important. And, I know there's places like Safe Space that at the Lido Centre that Mind do, but I think it's very much about, and that's a different sort of service that is, that can be drop-in, but different people are at different points in their recovery or needing support. And I think with yours, the fact that it can be a simple cafe for people to come in, and I'm sure it's very easy to access, whereas where Safe Space is, every time I walk past it, it's because where we used to be built, it just looks a bit scary for service users, that, reception desk, and it's not, not many signs in the windows and things like that. And I think, it's tricky for people, and sometimes what people want first and foremost is just a relaxing, welcoming space. So I think you're doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the CEO of the charity speaking this week, and she was talking about it's just about being human together, really. Because we're very clear that we're not offering a counselling service. So when it's evident that people need more input, we want to just, direct them in the right direction. So for me, as much information as I can glean about what's out there, how we can contact mental health services if needed, but also places like the Solace Centre and Befriend and Rethink, that's all so helpful to know about, because, they're obviously offering a much, more specialist type of service.
Anyone got any questions for Francis? No, I don't think we have. Well, thank you very much, Francis. Great to know that you're up and running. Well done, that's great.
Yes.
Okay, so now we're going to go over to Mandy from IAPS.
I'll get rid of this.
Hi, Toby. Thank you for inviting me, and hello to everyone. Really interesting, actually, listening to everybody and what they do. I think it's really important what I kind of touched on what you were saying earlier, Toby, with regards to people connecting and the community that's out there and knowing what they do. So just to listen to what, for instance, what Francis has been doing. I missed the beginning of it because I had to exit for a call, but it's fantastic that people are out there doing the great jobs that they're doing. But in terms of IAPT, well, I think many people are aware of IAPT being around and what we do, but I just wanted to just kind of highlight a little bit more about services. And they've been around IAPT nationally for about 12 years now. I myself have been with the NHS services for about 20 years, so I've kind of grown and seen changes come and go, where funding gaps are, where they're not, how they're redistributed accordingly. So by training, I'm trained in CBT, so that's my niche. I've completed that through Royal Holloway. I'm also trained in EMDR, which is a trauma therapy. So that is my niche, and I really enjoy working within my clinical practice. But I think it is also just to highlight that within IAPT, we do receive referrals from all health professionals. We have a website, so Ealing IAPT. Anybody can access that if you just search Ealing IAPT on the search bar on the internet. So we take professional referrals from professionals, GPs, self-referrals. People can also go onto our website and make a self-referral if they needed to do that. We actually see people, so we kind of class within these sort of primary care sector. So we've got primary, secondary, and tertiary care. So anybody who is experiencing any form of mild or moderate anxiety disorders, they can come to us, as I said, either through self-referral or through professionals. So, I mean, who do we see? Anybody from the age of 18 upwards. They can self-refer to us. We work very closely with our sort of partner organisations and voluntary sector, with CAMS and other services that are out there. So we treat people with mild to moderate anxiety, depression. It could be social phobias, specific phobias, obsessive compulsive disorders. postnatal depression. But I think it's also really useful just to know that there is a group of people who we don't see who actually don't fit within the primary care sector. So these would be perhaps people who've got high level of risk, or there's issues of harm towards self or other people, aggression, people who may have complex needs, personality disorders, or there's significant psychosocial factors that may kind of stop them engaging within therapy. I mean, also, in terms of what do we offer, we have a wide range of modalities within Ealing IAP that we offer. So they range from CBT to guided self-help, which is kind of 5 sessions of people just kind of getting concepts or ideas of what depression is or what anxiety is. We offer DIT, dynamic interpersonal therapy. We offer interpersonal therapy, counseling for depression, EMDR, which is a trauma therapy. So there is a wide range of modalities. So what usually happens is that a person refers to us, initially what we do is undertake a triage assessment, which lasts for about 40 minutes. And that helps us to just ascertain whether a client is suitable for our service or not. Now, we have an exhaustive list of organizations out there. So what we don't want to do is just leave people with nothing. So if we find that they're not suitable for us, we will often signpost, or if the need be, refer on to those agencies. Bereavement services, perinatal services, it could be specialist trauma services, it could be if there's high level of risk. We work closely with single point of access, and also with our new emerging Mint partners as well. So we have people who are located within the South and the North Mint localities, and also to the voluntary sector. So we work very closely with Metanoia, with Ealing Abbey. So yeah, I mean, in essence, that's what we do. But what we have found over the last couple of years, like everybody else with COVID, it's been extremely difficult, and our waiting lists numbers referring to us has naturally increased. A lot of people presenting with COVID anxiety or COVID-related anxiety. So whether they've been diagnosed themselves, and an unfortunate kind of the biggest people who are accessing support services are frontline staff. As we know, they've been in a really, really difficult situation dealing with what they've had to over the past 2 years, quite often presenting themselves with long COVID or with PTSD symptoms. It could be bereavement, COVID bereavement, or the wider impact. So when we think about, we have received quite a lot of training in terms of COVID and how it impacts people in terms of memory, brain fog, and their ability to concentrate. So these are high functioning individuals who perhaps have gone through COVID themselves and have had a long and arduous recovery. So it causes a lot of anxiety. But nonetheless, we try and stick with our 18-week deadline. We do prioritize certain people, whether they're veterans, perinatal, people with very young children, and people who NHS staff priority, because they do need to be seen. They can get back to work and start treating people sooner as well. So yes, it's had a strain, the last 2 years. Primarily what we're now doing is working from home, because obviously we have to also then work within government guidelines, so to protect ourselves and staff and the public. So we offer what we call kind of almost like a hybrid model at the moment. The majority of our clinicians, and we work from home, but we do have one bubble day, where everybody comes within their bubbles and work from the office, where we do offer face-to-face sessions for our clients. Other than that, it would be through Microsoft Teams or through to the telephone, because we don't want to obviously stop services which are very much needed. Sessions may vary between 5 and 16 sessions, depending on what we're treating. So that's a little bit about what we do, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody does have any.
Francis, you've got a question.
Yes. So my other hat is I work part-time as a practice nurse, and I traditionally, well, for some time, you've been, I think, been running group sessions for people with long-term conditions, such as diabetes, which I'm very involved with. Is that still going on at the moment?
A really great question. Thank you, Francis. So we do have a very large group program, and what we've realized that actually the attendance to these very specific conditions like the diabetes, the COPD, the cardiac groups that we did once run, we're no longer running at the moment. But actually what we've done is we've kind of encapsulated it all into the LTC framework. So we are doing LTC group workshops. We do the standardized depression, anxiety workshops. We're now doing running for better health. We're trying to introduce that. And people with long COVID. So I think those are the workshops which are much more needed at this particular time. But with those particular LTCs that you speak about, they're covered within the LTC workshops that we do. So they can be either attended through our group work or from one-to-one sessions as well. And again,
are those virtual, those groups?
So the groups at the moment, because of our capacity and resource issues, are all run online and quite well attended actually. So a lot of the groups, apart from the usual depression, anxiety groups, the new emerging ones are fairly new. So we're trying to generate more interest. So, you know, please spread the word that IAPT are doing the groups out there, and they can self-refer, or if a health professional feels there's a necessity. We also work with the community long COVID and the social subscribers to refer people who have or are experiencing symptoms of COVID. And again, as I said, we would do assessments, and if we can't support them, we would always refer them on where they can be supported.
Do you have any sort of flyer with those groups, or should we just go onto a website? Or
yeah, so we did have, but I think with our pre-existing groups, but there's nothing that we've got we can send out with a existing. But if you do go onto our website, it does give you a list of everything that we offer at this moment. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Mandy? I've got one myself. It's a bit random, but I'm always interested in new techniques and thinking about, you're mentioning brain fog as a consequence of long COVID. I was just interested what the kind of latest techniques to actually treat that brain fog are. Are there things like meditation? Do things like that help? Or what's been the best approach to kind of clear that fog?
Yeah, I think it's an emerging field, because obviously the whole of COVID is quite new. So within the COVID groups or the training that we had, they do look at the kind of the whole presentation. And one of the key things is there was a story about a particular GP who, of course, was highly functioning, developed COVID, and as a result of that also brain fog affects memory, concentration, the ability to be able to sort of do the normal day-to-day tasks. So some of the techniques we really talk about is actually keeping it very, very simple and allowing the time, because I think also there's emerging evidence after about 3 or 4 months, the memory does start to return back. We do have to keep, as agile as we can, both emotionally and physically, to be able to attain that. But actually, I think there is a huge personal push to be able to do that, but also for employers to support like gradual returns back to work, to be able to using very simple techniques within CBT, such as kind of tracking your thoughts, writing things down, and just kind of really looking at slowly allowing time. I think if you think about the efficient using, we kind of use the model around, again, similar to the long-term conditions or chronic fatigue. It's much about being able to do what you can at that particular time, and just allowing your body to do what it needs to do in the healing process with long COVID, and eventually it does come back. So we do coach people through just being quite accepting. So, you know, we're using the third wave CBT techniques, such as you said, mentioned earlier, the meditation, being kind to themselves, the compassion focused stuff, and the acceptance. And I think one of those things, it's really, really difficult that actually we don't know COVID affects people in very many different ways. So we think about the breathing, but we have to also rule out if there's any underlying conditions. If we do see people that actually there could be potentially something else that's going on, work very closely with our partners or people involved in the care for that individual, i.e. the GPs and so on and so forth. But I think the primary thing is to follow kind of a very graded approach to treating somebody with long COVID and allowing them to recover themselves.
Oh, it's
Hope
interesting.
that helps.
Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, any other questions for Mandy? I think that's it. Thank you ever so much for joining us, Mandy.
Oh, you're welcome always, Toby. Nice to be here.
Right, I'm going to give everyone an update about the last time we all met. We did a mapping exercise because on just a few basic areas, because this was in relation to, and of course, thinking, Francis, this will really help you in your service as well, because things have changed so quickly out there. One thing that could be open 1 month closes, and we just wanted to make this really simple in terms of what we're looking for. So we wanted to find out some answers for someone who comes to a drop-in session, perhaps at the Mind, at the Lido Safe Space, or any other sort of frontline service, and they need signposting to confidence building, finding work, employment support, and mindfulness, dealing with stress, and healthy eating. So I just run through, based on, we all broke into breakout rooms and made some notes and thoughts, and then I went back and checked things to see what is out there. So this is my kind of definitive list. So don't forget, there's here at West Ealing Library, the Recovery Hub, once a month, self-referral, different sessions on confidence building, and Parole is running that. That is on, it's really worth looking at the West Ealing Library website. I'll send that link around as well, because there is a calendar there and lots of things on it that are free. Things like Knit and Natter, again, thinking about that, forming a space where people can just come along and just relax and talk to other people, and things like, you know, the common interest of knitting, and even, you know, Tom Daly was championing that at the Olympics. It can't be, it's not something to be laughed at, knitting. So we'll all be knitting in the future. So things like that. So do have a look at the West Ealing Library website to see what's on and what's free. Also, I wanted to flag about the Recovery College, but this is only for people who've accessed secondary care before. So if someone should come to you and say, yes, I've accessed secondary care before, they could then go back to the Recovery College, who offer a range of different services. And I put the website there, so it might be worth looking there. And the Shore Trust, they're really good, the Shore Trust, of all the back to work sort of employment schemes, because they are very supportive in terms of mental health. They've got a great reputation, and rightly so. And Shore Trust has a footprint in Ealing. They work with all the job centres, and so if anyone should come to you and say they're looking in, you know, want to do some confidence building, if they are with a job centre, they just need to speak to their work coach, who will then refer them on to the Shore Trust. So once they get to the Shore Trust, opens up so many doors to help them. Ealing Council, I was a bit surprised that there was a charge of £10 for this, online courses, quite short courses, for confidence building, worth mentioning just in case service users are interested, but £10, I thought that was a bit steep. Mindfulness, dealing with stress. I think it was Meg who sent me this. From Each Counselling are now hosting a weekly drop-in session at their offices in Hanwell. And it is a discussion led by service users, volunteers, about what mental health is. Sounds really interesting. 12 to 1 p.m. every Wednesday. So it's good to have another drop-in. And I put in here all about Mind Food and all their courses. Always worth checking about Mind Food. They have drop-ins. They do amazing things. I mentioned, oh yeah, there's yoga at West Ealing Library. Don't forget Yardo, the address there. Some of their courses are free, online, mindfulness and wellbeing classes. the link to the Safe Space Mind, and I've already mentioned about knit and natter. And then the next one, healthy eating, improve mood and save money. Well, nothing at all in Ealing, and I've been banging on about this for years and years. There was the Green Corridor project, that's all finished now. That was online, nothing at all in Ealing. I think it's such a shame that Hounslow offers it, all their details on the One Hounslow site about healthy eating courses. It's so important for mood and for people to save money and feel better, not one single healthy eating course in a borough the size of Ealing. What can you say? I think that's really, really bad. Help with finding work. I mentioned the Shaw Trust. Also, there's Steps for Success programme by Ealing Council. Again, they can help with interview guidance, CVs, and again, they need a referral from a job centre coach. There's also this project that sounds interesting, Sweet Project by Action West London, helping women from ethnic minorities find work. Each counselling does work back to work scheme, and don't forget Twinings Enterprises. They help people find employment who are facing mental health issues. And there's the Work West Ealing website, always good to look at that. There's also training and that people can access and advice on finding employment. And that's it. So I will send that around. Also, I remembered there's, just so everyone's aware of it again, there are some students at West London Mental Health who recently updated a spreadsheet of support services. So I'm going to send that around just so everyone remembers. Right, I'm also going to give you a hint of what's coming up at the next meeting that we have got. Tom, who's on this call today, he's going to be presenting at the next one, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek of what it's about. Tom, don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you just want to say hi to everyone?
Hi everyone, sorry. Yeah, thanks so much for having me along, Toby. I really enjoyed this session. It was great to get an idea of how the session runs. I work at CW Plus, which is the charity for Chelsea and Westminster. And as you can see on screen, the programme I work for mostly is called Best for You. It's aimed at children and young people, but as you'll all know, in your services, you know, in the NHS, we define young people as up to 18, but there's a fuzzy border up to around sort of 25 where we think this will be relevant. So at the next meeting, I'll talk to you about some of the digital services that we're offering for that age group.
That's great. Thanks very much, Tom. But it looks a great website, really interesting initiative, and I love the way the website's laid out and all the different areas you can explore and recommend support to other people. So I look forward to that. Noika, you wanted to say something else?
Thank you, Toby. And thank you, first of all, for inviting me to the session. It was really, really informative to me. I'd like to formally introduce myself to everyone who's joined in today. I support the Ealing Borough with funding and group development advice. So we provide advice on fundings that are open, any kind of trainings that you have, any training needs your organization has, any safeguarding training, safeguarding audits that you would require, and more. I'm happy to add a bit about what I do and send it along with Toby's session notes. Do reach out to me if you have any requirements, right from training, funding to training. I will be sending out the Ealing State of the Sector survey shortly, and this is the survey that actually helps the council to actually understand what the state of the sector is and formulate policies accordingly. really look forward to you supporting me in filling that survey. Give me the understanding of what's in the borough, how we need to tackle things or gaps, and how we could fill those gaps in. That's about it. Thank you so much for inviting me, Toby, and allowing me this 1 minute. Thank you all.
Thanks, Noika. Okay, have we got any other business to close on? Has anyone got anything else they'd like to talk about or share? Don't think so. Oh, let's just see if this is a new message. No, just a thank you, Catherine, saying thanks to everyone. Okay, well, great to see everyone. And just a reminder that the next meeting is slightly earlier, what with Christmas coming up. So it is going to be on Friday, the 17th of December. Same time, same day, Friday, 12 to 1:30. And yeah, you've got a sneak peek of Tom's going to be talking more. And was that your hand up? Yeah, go ahead. No? Oh, you were just moving. I thought that was a hand up. Okay, I shall look forward to seeing everyone on the 17th. Have a good weekend, everyone. See you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Toby. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.